it's Katie. Welcome back to From My Vanity and welcome to another 3 Looks 1 Palette Plus review. This time we are going to be doing 3 looks using the new Poppi Cosmetics Neon Drip Palette. I just recently discovered this brand, Poppi Cosmetics, and this is their first initial launch. If you have not seen it, it looks like this. It has these kind of like raindrops, drips kind of embossed on it so that you can see it. Like the whole palette is matte, but the little drips are shiny. So it's really pretty when you catch it. And then inside, it looks like this. So per usual, we will get into a review where I kind of give you guys my overall thoughts and feelings on the palette. But first off, we're going to jump into the 3 looks that I created. And per usual, we're going to go through all of the shades that I used and I'll give you my review pretty much on each individual shade as I go along. If there's anything noteworthy to say about that shade, I'll tell you guys during the tutorial. So let's just jump right into that.
Alright, so I'm going on with Smashbox Lid Primer in white, and I'm using a dry Colourpop blending sponge to blend that into my skin. And then taking the Neon Drip Palette, I'm going to be starting with Clout, that neon pink shade, and trying to tap it on initially to set the color, and then once I have a kind of general outline, I'm very gently blending it into my crease, and then I'm taking that purple shade Freaky and I'm packing that on my outer corner. And as you can see, while there is a purple tint, it's not a very vibrant purple. It leans very heavily on the pinky spectrum. So then I'm just going on with some glitter primer and I'm prepping my eyes, kind of doing a half cut crease, but just setting that down so that the shimmers are really able to adhere to my lid. Then going on with that purple shade Wet, I'm using my finger to pack it on. Now this shade, while it's really beautiful and iridescent, it is definitely a shade that is relatively transparent, so keep that in mind. I kind of wish I had a purple base underneath to really help the purple stand out. But anyway, I'm taking Slippery and I'm using a brush, a very flat brush, to pack that onto the inner half of the lid and take it up and kind of defining the cut crease. This shade also is a little thin, but it's definitely a lot more pigmented than that purple was. The texture and formula of these shimmers really reminds me of the Glamlite formula. It's not my favorite to work with just because I feel like it applies best with the finger and I don't like using my finger, but you can still get a really pretty look out of it. Anyway, moving on, I'm just taking my Vamp stamp and stamping that on, and then just taking this Kiss magnetic liner, I'm applying that on my lash line. After that, I'm just going to put this black from Milani into my waterline and then applying this mascara, and then I'm moving to my lower lash line and just taking Freaky and blending that out on the outer half. And then taking Baddie, I'm putting that on the inner half of my lid. This shade, while it's still pink, definitely leans a little more coral, really pretty and easy to blend, but it is a little thin. But anyway, next up, I'm just taking this NYX Glitter Goalz in the shade Diamond Dust, and I am cutting out my half cut crease. And then for my inner corner highlight, I'm taking Lit and just packing that on. This is more of a subtle shimmer, but it is really pretty. I personally like a little more reflectiveness for my inner corner. And then I'm just taking this LORAC highlighter in Celestial and using that as my face highlight for the day. And then using this Neutrogena Moisture Smooth in Almond Nude and putting that on my lips. And then last up, I'm taking these MoxieLash lashes in Classy Lashes and putting those on my lash line. And that is the completed look. Overall, it's very beautiful, and as you can see, the shimmers are very reflective, but I think you'll be able to see what I mean by the purple. Both the shimmer and the matte aren't really like a very vibrant, honestly, very neon purple. They're very much leaning more pink and softer, and keep in mind that it always struggles when it comes to neons for the color to transfer and translate on camera as intense and vibrant as it is in real life, so keep that in mind. But even in person, I felt like the purple in this look didn't stand out and definitely leaned just a lot more on the pink side. So I feel like you can catch some shifts of purple, but overall it just looked very pink. Not saying that that's a bad thing, but just when you look at this palette and see those purples in there, don't expect intense neon purples. Alright, moving to the second look. I didn't show you, but this is the Makeup Revolution Cut Crease Canvas, and I'm using the same sponge, dry, to blend it out. I used way too much product that day. Anyway, I'm starting with Slimy, this neon green, and I am blending that onto my lid. I definitely think it benefits you to use a white base when you're using this palette. Once again, this formula is very thin, especially this shade, so it took a good bit of building and back and forth, but you did get that green color. It's not that neon in my opinion, but it's definitely a green hint of color there. And then I'm following that with Culture and and packing that right into my crease. And while Culture is more of an interesting kind of peachy color, it blended in to make a really fun orangey shade that kind of ombreed up into the green that I thought was a lot of fun. And as you can see, it took a little bit of time to build up that color, but there wasn't any issues with patching and it did build up. Using my MBA Glitter Glue, I am applying that with this little fan brush and just completely cutting out the crease, going all the way to the end of my eyelid, not doing a half cut crease. And then I'm taking Flex first, this is that shimmery green, on a brush and applying that to the inner half of, or the first half I guess you could say, of my lid. Once again, this shade really reminded me of the Glam Light formula because you kind of want to work slowly and just take a little bit at a time and really press it and slide it to get it to adhere to my lid opaquely. The final color is gorgeous, but it's just a little tedious when you go to apply it, especially if you're not someone who uses your fingers. And I don't like using my fingers if I don't have to. But for the second shade, Poppin', this is a lot of fun. I did end up using my fingers though, mainly because I didn't want to be as precise on my outer corner and it just gets the job done quicker. But this shade is so fun. When I wore it just shifted so much in the light. It was gorgeous. Taking my Vamp stamp and then this It Cosmetics Superhero Liner, I put on my wings and then followed that up with mascara. And then just taking this Milani gel liner and putting that in my waterline. Taking Side Chick, I am buffing that on my lower lash line. This shade, once again, it leans very pinky, but at the same time, as you can see, it's also a little orangey. It's a very fun shade. I really liked it. And to kind of help tie everything together, I am taking Culture once again and putting that on the outer half since I have it up in my crease anyway. And this kind of helped to tie all the colors together so it wasn't too crazy. And just finishing off with a little bit of mascara on my lower lash line. Then I'm just using this Juvia's Place highlighter in the shade 3 and putting that as my face highlight and my inner corner highlight for that day. Finishing off the look, I am taking this Lucky Chick lip lacquer in the shade Blissful, and that is going to be the completed look. Out of all the looks that I created with this palette, this was definitely my favorite. I just liked how different it was. It was very bright, but still had a softness to it. But overall, I just felt like it looked like sunshine, honestly. It just looked so happy and bright, and that's what I really personally enjoy wearing these days. So I really enjoyed wearing this eye look. And while I feel like, especially with the green, it doesn't stand out that much as being neon. It's definitely more of a softer, almost like a pastel neon green, if that's even a thing. But even though everything was a little softer than you would expect to get from a neon drip palette, I still really liked the final look, and I really like the shimmers that I used on my lid. They were absolutely stunning in person. The reflectiveness of those shades are beautiful. I did get some glitter fallout throughout the day on my lid, but honestly not that much, and overall I just really like this look. Moving on to the third and final look, I'm using my Smashbox lid primer and applying that before going on with the Makeup Revolution Cut Crease Canvas and blending that in with a dry sponge once again from Colourpop. Starting off with that first shade, Kiki, that neon yellow, I'm putting that right above my crease and very lightly buffing and blending that in. Kind of similar to the neon green, this neon yellow isn't that neon, especially when comparing it to the neon pinks in this palette, but it's still very beautiful. And then I'm following that up with Culture and I'm packing that right into my crease, kind of like I did the previous look, and just really buffing and blending and meshing that up into the yellow, which was very easy to do. I thought these two blended together so seamlessly, and Culture just overall was a very easy shadow to work with. Not to say that I struggle with any of the mattes in this palette. Overall, I felt like they all blended very effortlessly. And then taking Clout, I'm just going to be packing that and blending that, basically keeping it to the outer and inner half, almost like a halo eye, but still kind of meshing it in the middle and just kind of blending it up into the yellow. I'm really trying to create a gradient here, and I got inspiration from a look that Poppi Cosmetics shared on their Instagram profile, so that's what I was going for here. And then to finish it all off, I'm taking Freaky and I'm packing that right on the center of my lid and blending that up into the hot pink. Once again, as you can see, the mattes are so effortless and just blend into each other so beautifully. But anyway, I'm just taking all the brushes and doing a little bit more blending and making sure everything is very seamless. And then just using my Vamp stamp, I didn't get a close-up of that, but then I'm taking the IT Cosmetics Superhero Liner and creating the wing before going on with the Kiss Magnetic Liner and lining my lash line. Next, I'm just putting on some mascara, and then moving to my face, I'm using that same Juvia's Place highlighter and applying that to my cheekbones. This is a stunning highlight. I really do like this highlighter. Taking this Colourpop gel liner in Poppi, I'm putting that in my waterline. And then following that with Culture, I'm just going to blend that into my lower lash line. I felt like whenever I use this on my lower lash line, I should have left my concealer tacky just so that it had something to stick to, because even as I go on with Cloutier, I feel like overall they just weren't as intense and weren't as pigmented on my lower lash line as they were on my lid. And I think that had to do with going onto a powdered base. There wasn't much for it to stick to. But anyway, I'm just finishing off the look with a little bit of mascara, and then taking Fleek, I'm applying that as my inner corner highlight for this look. When used as an inner corner highlight, these shimmers are definitely a lot easier to work with. As you can see, it's just, you know, it applies easier since it's such a small and compact brush. But then taking that clean, fresh lip oil from Covergirl in the shade Grape Soda, I'm applying that to my lips, and that is the final look. This look was definitely a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed doing all matte looks, and I love the gradient of this look. It was very easy to get, and if you're someone who struggles with a gradient but wants to try vibrant eyeshadows, I feel like this formula, the formula of these mattes, make it so easy. The only con to this look for me personally was that I didn't get that intensity of purple at the very center of my eye, and the yellow wasn't as neon as I thought it would be. But honestly, if I had put a purple gel liner as a base, it would have gotten a lot more purple, so something to keep in mind. But for these eye looks, I didn't want to put anything else underneath it besides a white base, so just something to throw out there. But overall, it turned out really beautiful, and yeah, that is the final look.
Alright, so now that you have seen the 3 looks, let's go ahead and jump a little bit into my review. As I've said, I've already kind of gone into all of the eyeshadows, so I'm going to try not to go too much in depth because I've already done that in the tutorial. I'm really trying to figure out how to do these 3 looks, 1 palette plus review without being too repetitive. But anyway, I do want to talk about this palette as a whole and the quality that I thought this palette had. The packaging itself is very, very nice. It's got a nice weight to it. It's nice and thick. It's not too flimsy. The mirror is extremely nice, and it's relatively big, I think, and it's a thick mirror too. I don't know if you can tell, but it's a thick mirror. It's nothing too flimsy. I love the little detail that she has on it, and then the back of the palette gives a lot of information. Not only that these are pressed pigments, but also says it's cruelty-free, has a 12-month shelf life, and also does in the little corner says, caution and warning for external use only, discontinue use if signs or rash of irritation appear, not intended for use around the immediate eye area. And that is because these are pigments. I created 4 looks total with this palette and had no issues, so, you know, do it at your own risk. This retails for $29, so if you wait for a sale, it's going to be even cheaper. I don't know if they offer free shipping. Like I said, this is their first launch from this brand, so this is the only thing they have to offer. Now, if you're someone who uses this with a white base, which is what I did the majority of the time, these shadows will pop, but I will say that the overall consistency and like texture of the shadows is a very thin. So if you guys have tried Whale Song, you know how thick and pigmented and dense that shadow is. These are a lot more thin, which I think makes it a lot more friendly for you to use if you are wanting to get into neon eyeshadows, but know that they can be a little tricky and a little like sticking in areas and just difficult to blend. I found this very friendly and just like beginner friendly, I guess you could say, when it comes to trying neon shadows. Now granted, there are no deep shades, so it's not like it has a whole lot of difficulty to blend darker shadows into lighter shadows when it comes to neons. Everything is pretty light and airy, but I mean, this look right here I think is gorgeous, and it used 4 different looks from this palette. And it was very effortless to blend. You just kind of pat things over and they just mesh and meld very nicely. And I think it has something to do with the formula being a bit thinner. So with that said, if you're someone who doesn't want this super impactful like Whoop Bam, I found that using a more your skin tone base helps to kind of dampen this a little bit, dampen the intensity of the color. Now it's still very vibrant, but it does take it down a notch. And the first time I wore this, I did use my regular, you know, LORAC and I think it was LORAC and Makeup Revolution concealer on top to prime my eyes. And I found that overall the shadows were just a little bit subdued, still bright like I said, but just a little subdued, not so neon. So I think that's kind of nice to have that versatility if you're someone who's wanting to have bright colors, but maybe you don't want to go super duper intensely neon. There is this. Now, is this as neon as like my Glimmer Neon Pigments? I would say no. These are just very intensely, very pigmented and very vibrant shadows. I would say if there's anything that in my opinion is like intensely true neon, I feel like Clout Out above all is the most neon of it. Everything else is just very vibrant and very bright and goes on very nicely. So that's just kind of my 2 cents when it comes to Neon Drip. Overall, the looks you get are very bright and vibrant, but if you're wanting the same intensity and the same just neonness that the Glimmer neon pigments can give you, I didn't find it to be that. Not only is it not that, you know, intense and dense of a shadow with these, but also not as bright. Like those neon pigments are just, they're so vibrant. I could never fully see it come across on camera. Like, yes, it always looked bright on camera, but there's just something in person. When it comes to Glimmer's neon pigments, it's just like, oh my goodness, they are intense. Whereas this, I feel like it's a lot more wearable for a neon shadow, if you want to call it that way. Like when I wear this today, I'm going to be going out, I feel totally like normal. Yes, it's a very vibrant and bright, but I don't think it's so out there. Whereas like the Glimmer neon pigments, I was never comfortable wearing them out because they are just so intense. I feel like a broken record there, so moving on. But overall, I was very impressed with them. Poppi Cosmetics has really impressed me, and I cannot wait to see what else they come out with in 2020. Yeah, they killed it with the packaging. They did very well with the formula, and you know, yes, it has those little quirks as I was talking about in the tutorial, but what palette doesn't? And honestly, it's not enough to ever deter me from trying the brand again. And if you're someone who is wanting to try neon shadows, if you're someone who's wanting to try more vibrant colors but don't want to just dive into neons, or don't want to fuss with a difficult formula to work with, check out the Neon Drip palette. I think this would make you very happy. I can't remember if I'm going to say it in the tutorial, so if I forget, these do have glitter fallout, so you have to use this with a glitter glue. So yeah, overall, that is kind of my thoughts and feelings when it comes to Poppi Cosmetics and Neon Drip as a palette. Poppi Cosmetics did a wonderful job with this as their initial launch to their brand, and they definitely have my attention. It's just a very easy formula to work with, which is why I appreciated it so much. So yeah, with all that said, that is going to do it for my 3 Looks 1 palette plus review. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Have you heard of this brand? Are you at all interested in this palette? Are you at all interested in neon shadows? I feel like neons are definitely something I'm getting into. I'm very interested in, especially after trying the pigments, and this is just so easy and effortless. And if you don't want to go so intense with your neon as with the pigments, this is a great option. But yeah, I hope this video was helpful for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing the 3 looks that I created with this palette. And yeah, I think that's going to do it for this video. If you enjoyed it, as always, hit the thumbs up on your way out. That would really help me out in the whole YouTube algorithm, and I would greatly appreciate it. And thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your day to watch another one of my videos. I really do appreciate it. And with all that said, I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye guys.